Good morning, LinkedIn. Happy Monday. Welcome to another edition, another week, almost another month of Let's Build Daily. I'm your host, Chris Carolin. Had an awesome weekend watching the wife finish her second full Ironman at the America's Championship in Texas with plantar fasciitis, no less. Super proud of her and always inspired to be my best self when I'm exposed to that on the daily basis. So ready for another great week and want to finish off this kind of 3-part journey after talking about companies usually getting on board with why they might want to be the best resource in their space, why they might want to be the best partner in their space, or for their customer across any partners that they might be working with. Doing so by making it easier to do business with you, making it easier to be successful with whatever business I am doing with you. But then the mindsets that really go into that kind of change, because when you look at the whole picture and try to accomplish those things, it is a boiling the ocean feeling that will overwhelm anybody that thinks about it. And we talked about the first leg of that journey, which is the partner mindset. What does it take to be a partner? A lot of people appreciate that mindset shift from vendor to partner, but just labeling yourself as a partner, starting to call all your customers partners, is a very, very small step. There's lots involved in actually achieving that identity in the eyes of the customer. Once you decide to do that, you've got to convey it to your organization, communicate it openly, very often, continuously, to get the buy-in at the beginning of the change and all the way through the change. That was the thing I was missing most on the inside when I was trying to bring, modern customer experiences to businesses that had never done it before. So it was the first part that I actually came up with in terms of this journey, which brings us to the third leg, the deliver mindset. And all this is, 60 to 80% work in progress. I feel pretty good about all the concepts involved here. And this one's actually probably easiest to identify, because one way or another, you're being forced to do a lot of this stuff right now just to keep up with the modern buying expectations, the modern customer expectations, seeing customer experiences that are available, and then they are brought to you through the actions and behavior of your customers, except you're likely doing it in a reactive way. So you might be delivering with new timelines and new schedules and, managing these expectations, but you're probably not doing it with delight because your employees are overwhelmed. Your teams don't really know the tools available to them to meet those expectations. So they're just answering the phones more. They're answering more emails. The expectations, helping customers clarify their expectations of you, understanding their expectations coming into the game, and then educating your teams and from leadership all the way down on what that means. Not only, on the surface, but what that means for the organization and the changes that need to be made and what that looks like. Listening and learning. Very often, we look to competitors, and we look for all these external sources to tell us what's going on, to what we need to do, when 90% of what you need to know you could get from your customers and your team members already. So collecting that feedback, one, is super important, but then learning from it is like, what are you doing if you're collecting feedback, if you're not learning from it and taking action on it? And taking action, identifying these insights, understanding them, how they might apply to your organization. Have you heard of them before? Have you not? And then are these surface insights, or does it go deeper? Validation and verification. A lot of similarities between partner, convey, deliver. That's why I'm starting to think of these as mindsets. These are all ongoing activities that need to be constantly reinforced with quantitative and qualitative, data and results. They need to be constantly communicated, and a consistent execution of all these things. In doing so, you can actually achieve, true empathy, which leads you to actual empowerment. Like, it's one thing to teach somebody how to do something and then expect that of that person. But actually empowering them to get the thing done on their terms is very different. And this can be an internal thing, it can be an external thing. But it's something, again, a lot of people say they want to do, or they say they are doing, but are they really? And lastly, reminding on results. Now, do I want you to be a puppy dog that's around every corner, looking for a pat on the head or looking to be pet? No, I don't. But do I want to hear from you more than once a year when it's time for the renewal? Yes, I do. So like a lot of this, it is a balance, but in most cases, we under communicate way more than we come close to over communicating. So getting in the habit of reminding, in ways that it's like, if we remember, these are the expectations, here's what actually happened. We met the expectations here. Yes, like getting that understanding and making it a consistent habit on both sides. That way, if anything changes on their side, they let you know ahead of time instead of not letting you know and leaving, right? If you're a true partner, then they're not going to do you like that, right? They know you can do better. And if things change on their end, they give you a heads up. So again, like, I came up with this. Obviously, I wanted it to fit into these terms of partner, convey, and deliver. But it wasn't that hard to, think of all the steps involved. And I guess maybe this just comes from my experience on the inside and all the pain points that I ran into. But why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we able to make these changes? None of this, like, so I say 60, 80% done here. This is untouched, an untouched response from AI, Claude specifically, where all I did was, from, I think 8 months ago, 7 months ago, I started, an article like I did the rest, where it's about delivering a great experience. And I gave them just the deliver with delight, educate on expectations, listen and learn. And then nothing else is touched. And it's working off of information that exists out there, right? So a lot of this is well understood in many areas. But again, I'm just looking for ways to break through the overwhelm, the response of that sounds like boiling the ocean, or that feels like boiling the ocean is not good enough. Like, we have to find ways to break through, especially as consultants and partners, to help leadership think through these things, because this stuff is not going away. And as long as you view it as boiling the ocean, these are major changes. Digital transformation is a major change, because likely, especially in the cases when you've been a vendor, you treat your customers as transactions. You do not have internal communication programs or change management programs. Your supply chain's been heavily disrupted, and the way that you deliver to customers is not as tried and true as it used to be. You have all these different channels to communicate on. All of this is a very significant change, but it doesn't mean, just because there's a lot of it, that you don't have to do it or that you can't do it. I think while tools are involved, so let's just run through these real quick. Deliver with delight. Design experiences focused on reducing customer effort at every touch point. Use technology to automate and simplify journeys. Train teams on delivering polished human service. This is why we don't need to overthink this. And when I highlighted the fact that this is AI, I haven't touched it yet. The key failures here are understanding every touch point matters, right? You throw that phrase out to any leader, they very likely don't understand where or how many every touch point, where or how many touch points there are, right? To even think about every touch point. That would overwhelm them immediately if they knew, right? So if we go back to current state and understanding that, this is a key part, right? Once you understand that, then you have a chance at using technology to automate some of it. But even when you call on a vendor or partner like HubSpot, training the teams on delivering polished human service. And I got a good anecdote, I think, from Chick-fil-A this past weekend. And because it shows both sides of this. And this is where, like, just understanding what it takes to do it, plus understanding how they've, gotten to this point where it's really everything, the mindset behind them saying my pleasure instead of you're welcome. So Saturday morning, after we do some volunteering in the morning for Ironman, me and my parents come back to Chick-fil-A, and I open up my Chick-fil-A app to scan just to get points, right? I had no rewards to use. It was just to, like, hey, I'm here, I'm buying stuff, I want the points. As I open the app, it tells me I have a free birthday entree to use that I was not expecting. So a little surprise there that I appreciated. Then the execution of it, like, I didn't even have to tell the person taking the order. And I watched the total, come off at the end. Then I confirmed what happened, and she confirmed. but just the technology and data management involved in being able to recognize that it's my birthday, at that point 9 days prior, and the app, I'm in the habit of using the app, right? We won't go into all that, but um, like just the way that the system works so easily for me to just save, $5 on a breakfast order. But then uh, during the order, I didn't order a drink with the intention of just asking for water at the end. As I'm about to ask for water, she's starting to prepare my parents' drinks. She asked me first if I want water with the order. And I don't know if anybody else pays attention when this happens like I do. I kind of get a little overboard like this, but how nice is it when you're about to ask for something and the person that's serving you asks you first? Like, that only happens through training, right? Uh, maybe occasionally they'll get lucky, or you'll just, you know, but honestly, like, training is the only way to ensure that happens. Now, is everybody going to do that? No. Are some people going to be nicer than others? Are some people going to be having a better day than others where they remember to do that? Sure. But experiences like that. So I had the technology side of the experience and the human polish side. I didn't even plan on bringing this up, but it just like came to mind as I'm reading the sentence out. Right? The training part is almost always missed in these organizations. So it's huge, and that's where you bring in a lot of tools, think you're going to help everybody do the job, but then when you don't train them how to use it, the tools are worse and their service gets worse because they get flustered that they're having to overcome these challenges in order to do delivery that they've known how to do for years, but now they're having to do it in a different way. So it just takes their eyes off the ball, right? Might be the nicest person in the world, like winning, customer service awards year after year. But if you give them a new tool set that they have to battle through day in or day out, day in and day out, then they're going to have some bad times, and they're going to translate those to some customer bad times. Goes hand in hand with educate on expectations, setting clear expectations with employees and customers on how the experience will transform. Overcommunicate reasons and benefits, provide robust training. Nobody is expecting, I mean, maybe they are, but if you go above and beyond to educate on what's happening, this does not happen overnight. But most of the problem is that we can't get past the boiling the ocean mindset, and we don't even take the first step, right? So starting to set expectations on how it will transform, not necessarily when all the time, right? It's going to transform, and here are the steps we would like to take to do that. That's why expectations and education around expectations, communication around expectations is in all three mindsets. Managing expectations. Just like last week, the HubSpot release, the only reason a bunch of partners logged on disappointed the next day is because they had very high expectations of what was going to happen. It did not meet those expectations. It doesn't reduce the value of all the things that the HubSpot product team has delivered over the past year. But the fact that we were all hyped up for something we didn't know what was going on, right? That was the whole win or loss of the campaign from the partner's perspective. Expectations weren't met. Our displeasure was voiced accordingly. HubSpot's usually good at engaging in number 3, listening and learning. Implement systems for continuously collecting feedback from employees and customers. Encourage sharing of ideas and pain points without judgment. Without judgment. There's 2 ways that companies fail at this listen and learn cycle. The judgment part, not making that part clear. Like if you're just asking for raised hands in a town hall once a month and expect people to be bold enough without any other communication about how that feedback's going to be used, whether like visible experiences about anybody having acted on that feedback, why would you raise your hand? Like if no psychological safety is established, people aren't speaking up. If customers are used to a transactional experience and they think that, causing giving somebody a headache, maybe they give me worse service next time. Like people that talk about complaining about food and then expecting the server to go in the back and somebody to mess with the food after that so that we don't complain, right? It comes to mind. And again, continuously collecting feedback is the other one. Like feedback once a year, once every couple years, is not enough. We are moving at the pace of day to day. And if you don't have always on systems to collect the feedback, understand what it means, and then act on it or address the fact that you received it and are at least thinking about it, that's another place where companies could stand to improve. And again, through most of this, it's, have you heard me as an employee or customer? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Are you acknowledging me? Most of the time, that's like half of the battle. And companies often fail at that half. They're having a very hard time with it. From that feedback loop, identifying insights, analyze qualitatively and quantitative data to uncover key insights on what's working well and what needs improvement. Pinpoint root causes behind the metrics. You don't really need to say it any other way. Key insights, what's working well, what needs improvement, how does it impact the business? Is it something we can change quick? Eisenhower matrix comes to mind: high impact, high importance versus low impact and low importance. Like starting to identify these things and then prioritizing them effectively. And not just waiting until the line breaks down, right, to do something about it. That's the reactive piece. Validate and verify test assumptions about solutions with real users before implementation. Ensure changes will create impact and value. Adjust approach as needed. So, these 7 steps, it seems like a lot, I would imagine. And, again, we're always told to simplify things and keep it short, keep it simple. But that hasn't gotten the job done. It just hasn't. When you continually see an underappreciation of the resources required to do the stuff successfully, and you continue to see failed transformations, let's try and go the other way. Let's try and break it down effectively, right? It could be very easy to lump 3, 4, and 5 together here. But 3, 4, and 5 don't happen. Like sometimes one of them does, but usually not all three, right? And definitely not all three at the same time when you might do three or four or five, right? How many times does the team come up with something new because they jump to five just to look to validate, what they're doing, and then we kind of know where that gets us. It certainly doesn't get you to number six. If you do a product update because you wanted to, like, how are you possibly being empathetic if you haven't listened to the need for it first? Empathetic empowerment, number six, foster a culture of transparency, collaboration, and customer focus. Break down the silos, empower employees to act in the customer's interest. Empower. This goes beyond telling people to be nice, right? Are your teams really empowered to do what's best for the customer? Are they empowered to do what's best for each other? Or are they driven by not making a mistake, by help desk ticket times and SLAs and a CYA mindset? Because that's usually what we're seeing. That's what I've seen. Is that without all of this stuff, you naturally get into a cover your ass mindset, whether it's to hit your quota or not get a slap on the wrist, whichever way you look at it. That's the opposite of empowerment, especially in the interest of the customer. And we have Remind on results, regularly communicate progress against goals. Highlight milestones achieved and folks who enabled success. Maintain motivation. It's huge. And if you're doing all these things, like, people appreciate it, but we're busy. It doesn't hurt to remind us once in a while. And when you build the consistency of reminding, like on a proactive basis, you inevitably avoid the reason to remind because it's in your best interest, because the renewal's coming up, because you just launched a new thing and now there's an upsell initiative for it. Right? That's usually the reason why we get on the phone or, send out the email to say, hey, we're doing a good job, right? Yes. Okay. In that case, I want you to buy this thing. Right? We can see it from a mile away. And if we can't, but then you follow up with the pitch and we're not used to hearing from you, that puts the bad taste in the mouth too. It's a tough game. Like, I'm sorry, but this is the state of things. This is what customer centricity looks like. And it's very hard to do it without the systems and mindsets in place. And the last thing I'll say, it's very easy to overlook the leadership and management training required to lead teams in this way. At a previous gig, the leader of the engineering team wasn't fully behind some of this stuff. So guess who else wasn't fully behind some of this stuff? The entire engineering team. And when they're a part of the whole journey, the whole process, how could we possibly align? It's going to get in the way of everything. So that's why, in this order is so important. We usually start here because the customers are demanding it. They're demanding better delivery. They have higher expectations. They're always talking, and they will know if you're ignoring them. They want to be a part of this process. They want to be able to do certain things on their own, and they want to get help in other places, and that can change from day to day. And they want to understand what's going on, good and bad, right? So results don't always have to be good. right? If you're only telling me about the good results and I had to ask about why I didn't get this last shipment on time, that's inconsistency. And I don't like it. Something's up. What else could be wrong? So, partner, convey, deliver. I think those three mindsets are essential into being the number one resource. If you want to see or hear or dive into any more of this content, if you want me to do it or if you want to come on and do it with me, maybe come up with some ideas about how it might apply to your organization, the best way to tackle it. I would love to chat. And through all of these, especially deliver, get out there and find the opportunities and let's grow. Have a great week, everybody.